Hello everyone, I'm Nex and welcome to my channel, Nex Quest. So you can see this is my first video, and the whole point of it is to make a slight intro into my channel, to tell you what I'm all about, and to make an introduction into the first chapter, the math roadmap. So first about me, I am a PNG tuber, a chemistry student, so I will have two sides if you can say it like that. One will be science, in which I will make educational videos covering some basic topics on maths, physics, and chemistry. I'll explain all these subjects, hopefully in a simple way so anyone speaking English can understand them. And at the end of every lesson, there will be a mini test, so you can test how much you remember, how much you learned, or come back later and see if you still understand the topic. I will also upload a separate video with solutions and process of solving those tasks and tests, so you can see if you made a mistake, where you went wrong, and how to fix it. The second part will be gaming. I will be streaming in the summer, probably this summer definitely, I don't know about further than that. Probably between June, September, that will be the time I stream as I have downtime from university. There I will be playing with my friends, I will be testing some games, I will be playing through some games as well, and after streams I will maybe save the VOD and upload it to YouTube in a special playlist. So if you missed the stream, you can watch it back later on. So when I told my friend about this channel, he was like, but why would you teach math and science if you can just play games like every other VTuber does? And I was like, I mean, on one hand, that scenery is already oversaturated. There's so many people there that I'm just gonna blend in, I'm not gonna be nothing special, and I mean, if I were, I would play games just so I can have fun from the games again, which I will do on streams, but I want to do something to stand out, to actually do something, to contribute to something. And I don't know, teaching people math and science, which is something that I've already passed with excellent grades in primary school and high school. So if I did so good, I can help other people learn those topics, even just the basics, good enough, so they maybe change their perspective on the world, which is more than enough for me. I see a lot of people hate these subjects, and I think it stems from the lack of understanding of those subjects, which could be for one of two reasons, which is either bad teaching or lack of desire to learn, or listen, or even try to understand. And since I'm the one who would be teaching, I can only change the bad teaching part by hopefully being a better teacher than your teachers were. My lessons will be non-mandatory and hopefully simple, so you don't have to feel forced to listen to them, and that you can check any lesson you want at any time you want, of course after they're uploaded already, and you can keep coming back to them if, I don't know, later on concepts on physics, we cover a certain topic that needs knowledge from derivatives or integrals, which we will cover, don't worry. You can always return back to there, use the tables, use the rules. Everything will be in an organized manner. But yeah, I also realized that maths and physics are quite useful in life, and of course chemistry too in academics, even if you don't go into chemistry like I did. I have a friend in engineering who had a semester of chemistry, I had a friend in biology who had a semester, or I think even two in chemistry. Medicine, physics, all those natural sciences require chemistry in some places, of course. So why not just offer as much knowledge as I can and hopefully help as much as I possibly could. Also, I realized that for myself at least, if I teach someone else something, I kind of know that topic a lot more. I learn it better. I know it's a learning method, but I forgot its name, so I won't even try to act smart here in this way. And lastly, why I want to do this is because when I see a science meme on the internet, I see thousands of comments of people not understanding why it's funny or what does it mean. And with my videos, hopefully those memes will have 1,000 less comments asking how does this work, and instead will be people actually laughing and having fun. And I would like to add a tiny quote to this chapter. The only true wisdom is in knowing that you know nothing. I'll leave it with you guys. Hopefully it makes some impression on you. Now, for the big part of this video, the main part why this was so important to make as fast as possible, the roadmap for math lessons. so you guys know what to expect, roughly when to expect it, and the progression, of course. So we'll start with basics and we'll progress all the way to harder topics. As for the start, we begin with something easy, relaxed, like numbers and operations. We'll study the properties, the order of operations, prime factorization, greatest common divisor, the lowest common multiple. I probably misspelled something. It's all good, we will make sure it's correct on the video. Then we'll continue on topic 2, second lesson, whatever you want to call it, with algebraic expressions and polynomials. We'll learn to simplify them, even though they're pretty much simple after you finish all the math lessons, which I can promise you that will be. We will learn to expand and factor them, and we will learn some fun and useful equations. This one is actually fun, like the difference of squares. After that, we'll move on to linear equations and inequalities. We will learn to solve n-step equations. This becomes less important because you begin doing it all in your head and do multiple steps at the same time, but it's nice to start slowly, so we will do exactly that. We will move on to systems of equations, primarily linear, because you probably won't have anything higher anytime soon, especially if you learn this for like high school level. If you go for university, I am not the study material you need, even for high school. I'm more of a guideline. I tell you the basics so you can understand it, so you can... It's a building block. It's the base building block. The first thing you need, it's far from enough, it's far from good, but it's a solid base. If you understand what I explain in videos, you will have a great foundation, hopefully. I hope. I will try my best though. After that, we'll move on to quadratic equations and parabolas. We won't graph them yet, because I do think that linear equations and quadratic equations are something that you probably know by now, or if you don't, they will bring you here, and teachers do explain this topic quite well. They do stutter on further topics, which we will get to now. The functions and graphing. It's important to start with sequences and series. After that, we'll move on to rational functions and asymptotes, where we will learn how to graph set functions and calculate the vertical, horizontal, and oblique asymptotes. I probably completely pronounced the oblique wrong, but I'm not English, let's just stay with that. After that, we move to exponential functions and growth, where we will learn how to calculate with exponents, positive, negative, and fractional. We will learn to graph them and learn what growth and decay of a function means and how to determine it. Then comes logarithmic functions, and to most of you probably by now, if you're not ending high school or entering college or university, logarithmic function, if you know what it is, it probably doesn't mean much to you, but I can tell you that it is a very important thing, and hopefully I remember to mention it in the video when we make that lesson. It's an important fun fact about using logarithmic functions to make graphs more easily readable. Yeah. After that, we continue with radical and root functions. We will move on to inverse functions, which I don't think you will use much after the test in math class, but they're fun to know. I mean, fun is relative, but yes. And we will finish this chapter with complex numbers. We won't go much into that. I will show you some examples though. For instance, they're quite useful in quantum mechanics, so I could make a video in chemistry/physics about it. Probably not. Then we move on to trigonometry, which is also where complex numbers sometimes show up, but we won't do that here. We will keep it simple. The trigonometric ratios and right triangles, first we'll learn definitions of the functions and how to solve right triangles. We will move on to unit circles and trigonometric functions in 15th lesson. We will learn how to graph those functions we learned before. And we will finish off trigonometry with identities and equations by learning basic trig equations, and I will also put a table, so if I ever reference back, as for some other lessons you will see later on, the tables will be referred back to. So, for instance, in physics, I say this equation, and I will put a tiny note on the top right, where it will link you back to that video, hopefully even to that specific time in the video. Next up, we have probabilities and statistics. I gotta say, not my favorite topic, but they are quite important for anyone who will go into more real-life applicative stuff. We'll start with statistics, so you learn the basic terms, the basic formulas, the basic whatever the basics are. I don't even know anymore. The next thing will be counting principles and permutations and combinations, where you will learn what each of those things are and what the differences are. Then we will continue with just basics of probability. And after that, we'll put binomial probability and distributions. And don't worry if you don't understand any words here. By the time we get to that lesson, you definitely will. Or in that lesson, I will explain them if needed. Now we get to harder but useful chapter, which are topics that are worked at the end of high schools, which are limits and continuity. We will learn what limits are and what continuity is. After that, we'll move on to derivatives, where this limit thing will come very handy for the basic formula, from which every other derivative table entry has been calculated from. I think that's right. Basically, yeah. In introduction, we'll basically know what it is, the basic equation, etc., etc. Then we'll move on to rules of differentiation, the power rule, the product rule, etc., etc. The tables, of course, as normal. And we'll finish the derivatives off with application, where we will calculate the maxima and minima, so all maximums and minimums in the function graph. We'll learn how to calculate tangent lines and concavity in a certain interval on a function. We will learn what partial derivatives are and what they do. And this is actually where it gets fun. I will most probably put something here that could spark some interest in some of you, hopefully. For 25th lesson, we will have introduction to integrals, what they are, indefinite and definite integrals, not that hard of a thing, you'll see. After that, we move on to integration rules and techniques, basic rules, of course, nothing complicated, the reverse power rule, the tables, all the good stuff. Then we will finish the integrals with the area under the curve and between the curves, which is the primary application of integrals, and we will move towards motion problems in physics. So I'll just give you some examples, while in actual physics chapter, we will cover those specific examples with integrals, so you will hopefully know how the equations are put together and why they work the way they work. Then we move on to something slightly harder, but I still think it's quite important for physics chapter. You can completely ignore the last three chapters if you don't want them. I still do think they fall under something that everyone should at least know the basics of, or at least know what it is. Not necessarily how to use it, but just what it is. So the key takeaway on differential equations, or these nuts jokes I could put in. But yeah, the key takeaway here would be understanding what they are and why they matter so much in science. For next lesson, solving first order these nuts. The key takeaway would be how to solve the basic first order Ds by using two fundamental methods. And after that, we will just move on to the application of first order equations. And there you would hopefully see how they explain real world phenomena. I will use some examples that I had in my exam recently. I did not pass it, but that's a different story. I didn't learn good enough. But for this video and the next exam, I definitely will. And yeah. This is my model. Apparently I should have moved this slide much earlier in the video, but you've been seeing him dance in the bottom right corner of the video for this entire time. What's next? A lot of things. After maths, I'll continue with physics. After that, I'll move on to chemistry. I can also put more mini-tests and examples solved if you guys show a lot of interest in the comments. I could also, if there's a lot of interest, and I mean like a lot, I will probably start a Patreon in which, for free of course, because I believe that knowledge should be accessible to everyone and anyone. So yeah, I will put more videos there if there's enough interest. I don't want to overextend myself because I do have a lot of real life stuff and university and all that. So the physics and chemistry chapter will of course have a delay. In 1 year I'll finish with maths, so half a year break for my diploma in university. Then after that maybe summer, July, August, I continue with physics. I could also make science myths debunked episodes, like every month or every year. Like I collect a whole lot of science myths from all over the internet and I just debunk them. I could also put out science news shorts, for instance 32 seconds of what's new in science. I will see. I am juggling with a lot of stuff currently, and I know I will in future years. Can't say how many because I'm sure there's at least two. But yeah, I will see what I can do about that. And also, I'll make collab videos with my friends, as I said, video game playthroughs, etc. I already have some plans, like a good friend will make a joke topic tier list. And since you saw and hear me make 2D's Not Jokes, I guess you can already know that I will put them in S tier because they are supreme. And yeah, what else is there to say? Thank you so much for joining me in today's not so short video. I hope I covered all the basics. I would appreciate if you followed me on the social media, the formerly known Twitter and known as X, the Twitch and YouTube. It's not required, it's not mandatory, it's not anything. It shows our support. If you have interest, it's gonna be easier to keep up with my upload schedule, which is gonna be hopefully consistent. I can't promise much. But yeah, if you think you want to be part of this journey, you want to see where I get to, you want to be here since the start, you can subscribe. I don't care much about the numbers. I think it's better if I just offer knowledge and hope it reaches the people they need. I'd much rather have 100 views on a video and all those 100 people actually used my knowledge than 500,000 views where people just dropped by to see what it is and clicked after without me somehow helping them change their perspective on life and world. That's all. That's my main goal, to finally have fun in video games and to hopefully help people change their perspective of the world. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope I wasn't boring. If you made it this far, you're a real one. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I really hope to see you on our next quest. See ya. Have a good day.